Well, good morning. It's wipe the condensation off the lens there. It's a little cooler than I thought first thing. Anyway, good morning. It's Ian R. Crane. It's the morning of Monday 26th of March 2018. And of course I didn't do a live stream on Friday, but that turned out to be short-lived because I ended up doing an impromptu live stream when the field was invaded by Nottinghamshire police at Friday lunchtime. But really, today I just want to make an observation and in fact perhaps celebrate the contribution of the female members of the anti-fracking campaign. And of course last week here at Misson Springs we had 5 arrests, all of which were women. On Wednesday we had the impromptu surfer, and then on Thursday we had 2 local ladies who were so incensed by Nottinghamshire County Council's decision to yet again ignore clause 21 of the planning permission and simply give iGas the permission to continue to work. So originally they had to stop work at the end of January, but that was then overridden, and now that was a 2-month extension, and now it seems that they've got an unlimited permission to continue working right through the bird breeding season, right through to September. And then on Friday we had some visitors from East and North Yorkshire, and of course the live stream of the arrest of Val Marga, a Jerry activist from East Yorkshire, and her sister Patsy from North Yorkshire were both arrested, gratuitously arrested, at the gates of Misson Springs protection, oh, so not the protection camp, the gates of the well site, just about half a mile from where I'm standing now. And you know, then a few hours later, Inspector Rob Wilson, whose resume says that he's probably more comfortable with community policing, led an unlawful invasion of the field. And I have no idea why it was they were here, but once they realised there was probably a few more on camp than they thought, they beat a somewhat hasty retreat. And of course, as I explained, or tried to explain to Rob Wilson, you know, we do have the landowner's implicit permission to be here. And we have made contact with their legal representatives, and from that contact we have that implied permission. So you know, next time you come, Rob, then make sure that you've got the appropriate paperwork and documentation. So many questions about what happened with Val and Patsy, and of course unfortunately my battery died just as I was about to say on camera that the sergeant had tried to counsel the police constable, PC 2727, not to arrest them, but he was on a mission. And, you know, and reflecting across the weekend, just maybe, you know, there's somebody in Notts Police who really wants to shut this down. And, you know, looking at the numbers on the gates, they decided that there probably, you know, wasn't enough members of the anti-fracking community here to do any sort of real damage. No pun intended there, of course, and I don't mean physical damage. You know, I'm using just a term there. So, you know, what they decided to do was they thought, hey, you know, how can we get more people down to Misson Springs? And then someone came up with a brilliant idea. Well, look, you know, if there's a couple of people from out of town, and particularly if we recognise their faces from previous campaigns, let's arrest them, because that's going to incense people from all over the country, and that'll get people down to Misson Springs. And then somebody said, well, you know, that might not be enough, so, you know, how can we really ram the message home? And then someone said, I know, we'll get Rob Wilson to, you know, because he'll do as he's told, and we'll get him to lead an impromptu invasion of the field, and that should really get people riled up. Well, whomever dreamed up that idea, thank you so much, because it worked. Because we have had so much support across the weekend, and messages, of course, have been flooding in for Val and Patsy, concerned about their well-being. Both of them were charged with obstructing the highway, but Patsy, unfortunately, was also charged with obstructing a police officer. So, you know, somehow I doubt that it's even going to get to court, but you know, of course, they are now bailed away from the gates for the time being, at least until they get to court at the back end of April. So what effect has that had? Well, it's actually doubled the number of people that we have here on camp now. And you know, we've had messages from all over the country of people wanting to find out where Missing Springs is. And now that's a start, because we are literally, you know, in the back end of nowhere here, although we're only about 7 miles from Doncaster, but of course that's another county, that's South Yorkshire. So, you know, punch in Misson, that's M-I-S-S-O-N. A lot of people make the mistake of saying Mission Springs. It's Misson Springs, and you're going to be very welcome. So, you know, we've already got some early risers here. You can't see them because they're in front, but if they walk behind me, then you'll see them wandering around. Hey. So, the women.
Morning.
And of course, we have another 2 women who last night have taken the initiative, and they are, I believe, still surfing a truck at the M6 services just south of Lancaster. And this was a vehicle that was taking drill pipe down to Preston New Road. So, you know, that's 7 women in, what is it, 4 working days. And, you know, I've made the observation many times that the anti-fracking community is made up probably of, you know, 60–70% of women folk. And, you know, people have asked why that is. Well, just maybe, you know, the women are able to actually think longer term. The men think very much short term. You know, how can we make that quick buck? How can we pay next month's mortgage? How can we, you know, pay the utility bills that are coming? How can we pay for the family holiday that the kids are all screaming for? So it's very much short term. Whereas the women are thinking longer term, and they are much more concerned about the implications that this industry has on the well-being of future generations. Obviously, particularly in terms of you know, the contamination of the water, the soil, the air, you know, pretty much all the basics of life, really. So, you know, this is very much an acknowledgement of the contribution of the women folk, and even to the extent of in Parliament. And you know, I really want to once again mention Dr. Sarah Wollaston, who is the MP for Totnes and South Hams. And earlier this month, she submitted some written questions to Claire Perry, who of course is the Secretary of State for Business, Energy and Industrial Strategy. In other words, Greg Clark's deputy. And you know, Sarah Wollaston, who had been nurtured very much by the anti-fracking community in Totnes and South Hams, and she asked some very pertinent questions, and the responses are very interesting. And I'm just going to keep mentioning it, because otherwise the danger is that, you know, something like this just sort of disappears in the annals of Hansard. And so the first question that she asked was, what are the numbers of employment opportunities that this industry is going to bring? And basically Claire Perry's response was, and I quote, "The Department of Business, Energy and Industrial Strategy has not made any estimate of the potential effect of employment from the future development of the shale gas industry." Now that's a very interesting response, because she's actually not just commenting on the assumption that there would be an increase in employment opportunities from this industry, but she's also alluding to the potential impact of losses of jobs as a result of this industry, i.e. losses of jobs in agriculture, losses of jobs in tourism, losses of jobs in, you know, local communities because people decide to move away from those communities or walk away because they're not going to be able to sell their houses, so they're just going to have to walk away. So Claire Perry's response is very interesting. And she went on to ask the Secretary of State for Business, Energy and Industrial Strategy, with reference to the implementation unit on shale gas, which disposal method is planned to be used for the projected 17 sites in 2020, good luck with that, 30 to 35 sites by 2022, good luck with that, and 155 sites by 2025, in your dreams. Well, Claire Perry's response was, "It is the operator's responsibility to agree disposal methods with the appropriate regulators as part of their planning application for all shale gas development." Now, for those who don't normally use parliamentary speak, let me translate that for you. What Claire Perry has basically said there is, we have no clue. We have not the first idea. And so, you know, once again, Claire Perry is really, I think, giving the anti-fracking community the tools that it needs to help the government bring about the end to this industry. Well, Sarah Wollaston went on. Another pertinent question. She asked, can you please advise what is the volume of flowback waste? And basically, once again, I won't bore you with all the parliamentary speak, but the answer was, we haven't got the first clue. So, call it a hunch. But I would say that the government is losing its enthusiasm for this industry. Now, it's not likely to pull the plug because obviously it has, or David Cameron and George Osborne, persuaded this industry to, you know, find the money to do the exploratory work. And of course, as we've seen with Third Energy, they've basically lost their shirt. And if it wasn't for British Gas, then Quadrilla wouldn't be at Preston New Road right now. And so, you know, here's a bit of counsel to reclaim the power. You know, whatever it is you're thinking, I'm sure it focuses on Preston New Road, but how about considering raising the profile of British Gas and their involvement with Quadrilla? Because if British Gas, i.e. Centrica, pull the plug on the funding, then Quadrilla goes exactly the same way as Third Energy have gone up at Kirby Misperton. So follow the money. Once you pull the plug on the funding, then basically they can't continue to operate. So Claire Perry and a number of other MPs are basically saying, I think, to the anti-fracking community, look, we need your help here, because we can't pull the plug on this industry because unfortunately we've misled them for the last near decade. And so they've got to come to their realisation themselves. And of course they're shooting themselves in the foot, hand over fist. You know, with INEOS now looking to sue the Scottish Government, looking to sue the National Trust, looking to establish an injunction to prevent people from basically doing anything but standing in the, on the side of the road and waving a placard. And, you know, when the INEOS injunction was pushed through in the royal courts in London, nobody in the south of England gave a damn, because INEOS are not operating in the south of England. So thanks to UCOG, that's all changed, because UCOG are only operating in the south of England, and now the south of England has been galvanised and is starting to take a real interest in what's going on. Unfortunately, you know, the judge has pushed the UCOG application down the track. That's not going to be heard until, you know, probably the end of April, maybe even the early part of May. And it's going to meet with a massive, robust challenge. And of course, the fact that it's in the southeast, it's going to get the attention of the national media. So again, call it a hunch, but I think Stephen Sanderson of UCOG, then you have committed a serious mistake and scored a spectacular own goal. So, you know, everything basically right now is looking pretty good for the anti-fracking community and not so good for the wannabe mother frackers. And, you know, here we are in North Nottinghamshire, Misson Springs, 2 sites to address, one up the road here and another one about 10 miles away on the Retford Road at Tinker Lane. And I can tell you that, you know, everywhere that I go, people now say, you're the guy, you're the anti-fracking guy, I've seen you on YouTube. Well, you know, word is getting out, but it's not just these videos, it's share everybody's videos. You know, Dave Kesterben of Eckington Against Fracking, he's now putting out on a regular video update. So, you know, the more people that are blogging, whether it's video blogging or written blogging, the more people that are sharing this information, the more people that are badgering their MPs and their elected representatives, the quicker the British government is going to, or the industry is going to find that they have no support in government, and they're going to realise that they just need to quietly pack up and go home. So here's the challenge. I'd really like to play a round of golf in 2018. Now, I'm a fair weather golfer, so it doesn't work for me in the winter, which means that I've really got to be playing sort of by October at the latest. Now, I think that Theresa May and her government want to see the back of this industry before the next conference season. And I think the likes of Sarah Wollaston and Claire Perry, who are both at the heart of the Tory administration, I think they're trying to help us by giving us the materials that we need to spread the word and help create that momentum to get this shut down. So just to paraphrase, basically what Claire Perry has said to Sarah Wollaston here is that we have no clue how many jobs this is going to create. We also don't have any clue about how many jobs are going to be lost as a result of this industry. We have no clue how much waste is going to be produced. We have no idea where or how it's going to be treated. And yeah, basically, we're clueless. And you know, if that's the basis for pushing an agenda for what has proven to be one of the most, if not the most, toxic industries on the planet, then God help us. So thank you so much to all the women who have stepped up to the plate and all those who are soon to realise what's occurring here and will come and join the anti-fracking community where it manifests around the country. So thanks to everybody that's come out to join us at Missing Springs. Thanks to Nottinghamshire Police. Hopefully you will be considering your strategy for giving us even more recruiting videos this week and doubling the numbers again at Missing Springs and Tinker Lane. So, and finally, thanks very much to Jenny of Easingwold for watching religiously every morning. It's very much appreciated. And I will catch you tomorrow at 8:30. You take care now.